The massive ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was beautiful, in a way that made Captain Yuna uncomfortable. The vessel stretched nearly 3 kilometers long, covered in golden patterns that seemed to glow with their own light. It looked like something from a dream, not something that should exist in the cold darkness of space. Yuna stood on the bridge of her ship, the Soul's Pride, watching the alien vessel through the main screen. Her crew worked quietly around her, running scans and checking weapons. Nobody spoke. They had trained for this moment for years, but training was different from reality. "Captain," said her communications officer, a young man named Junho. "They're sending a message. Audio and visual." Yuna nodded. "Put it through." The screen changed to show a face that was almost human but not quite. The creature had pale blue skin, large dark eyes, and no nose, just 2 small slits above a thin mouth. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Ryla of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and friendship. For thousands of years, we have watched your species grow and develop. Now, at last, you have proven yourselves ready to join the greater community of intelligent life." Yuna said nothing. She waited. Ambassador Ryla continued, her strange face forming what might have been a smile. "The Galactic Council represents 47 species from across the galaxy. We offer you membership in our union. This means access to technology beyond your imagination, trade with countless worlds, and protection from any threat. All we ask in return is your cooperation and friendship." The message ended. The bridge remained silent. Junho looked at his captain. "Sir, should I open a channel?" Yuna turned to her tactical officer. "Sumi? What do the scans show?" Lieutenant Sumi's fingers moved across her console. "Their weapons are powered down, Captain. But they have weapons. Lots of them. This ship could destroy our entire fleet without breaking a sweat. And they want to be friends," Yuna said quietly. There was no warmth in her voice. She thought about history. She thought about all the times powerful nations had come to weaker ones with gifts and smiles. She thought about what always happened next. "Open a channel," she said. When the connection was established, Yuna spoke clearly and without emotion. "Ambassador Ryla, this is Captain Yuna of Earth's First Fleet. Your message has been received. Please hold your position while we consult with our government." She cut the transmission before the ambassador could respond. Within the hour, Yuna was in a secure video conference with Admiral Taewoo, the head of United Earth Defense. He was an older man, with gray hair and hard eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and trusted no one he hadn't personally tested. "Tell me everything," he said. Yuna gave her report. The ship, the weapons, the offer. 47 species, he finally said. 8,000 years of peace. And they just happen to find us now, when we're finally spreading beyond our own system. 8. Yes, sir. They've been watching us. They said so themselves. Taewoo leaned back in his chair. "What do you think they saw?" 1. Yuna understood the question. They saw us fight. They saw us kill each other. Again and again. And now they see us reaching for the stars. And they're scared, Taewoo said. They're scared of what we might become, so they want to bring us into their system. Control us with kindness. Taewoo nodded slowly. The oldest trick in the book. Offer gifts until the other side depends on you. Then you own them. He made his decision quickly, as he always did. I'm forwarding this to the World Council, but I already know what they'll say. We've spent 200 years getting free from each other's empires. We're not about to join someone else's. 3 hours later, Yuna received official orders. She opened a channel to the alien ship. Ambassador Ryla appeared on screen, her dark eyes bright with hope. Captain Yuna, we are pleased to... Ambassador, Yuna interrupted. I am authorized to deliver the following response from United Earth. She read from her orders, keeping her voice flat. The people of Earth thank the Galactic Council for their offer of membership. After careful consideration, we must decline. We ask that you leave our space immediately, and do not return without invitation." The ambassador's face went through several emotions: confusion, disbelief, and finally something like pain. "Captain, I don't think you understand what you're refusing. We offer you medicine that can cure any disease, energy that never runs out, the knowledge of thousands of civilizations. And you say, no? We say no," Yuna confirmed. "But why?" Ryla's voice cracked with genuine distress. "In 8,000 years, no species has ever refused membership. You would be the first. Why would you choose isolation over community?" Yuna considered the question. She thought about giving a diplomatic answer, something soft that would leave doors open. But that wasn't what her people needed to say. They needed to be clear. "Because we know what happens when the powerful offer gifts to the weak," she said. "We've done it ourselves. Many times. The gifts come first, then the advisors, then the troops. Then one day you wake up and realize that nothing belongs to you anymore. Your land, your resources, your future, all gone." She paused. "We will not make that mistake again. Not with each other. Not with you." Ambassador Ryla stared at her for a long time. "You think we're trying to conquer you. I think you believe you're trying to help us. That makes it worse." The transmission ended. On the main screen, Yuna watched as the great golden ship turned slowly and moved away. It was still beautiful, but now it looked sad somehow, like a rejected gift. Junho spoke quietly beside her. "Do you think we made the right choice, Captain?" Yuna didn't answer immediately. She watched the ship until it jumped to faster than light speed and vanished from her screens. Only then did she speak. "I think we made the only choice we could live with." Back on the Council's capital world, Ambassador Ryla stood before the assembled representatives of 47 species. She had served the Council for 60 years and had never failed a mission. Now she had to report the impossible. "They said no," she told them. "The humans refused everything we offered. They do not want our technology, our protection, or our friendship. They want us to leave and never return." The great assembly hall erupted in noise. Clicks, growls, whistles, and words in 100 languages. Confusion and anger filled the air. Councillor Bren, old even by the standards of his ancient species, raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "In 8,000 years, he said slowly, this has never happened. Perhaps we should ask ourselves why." But few were listening. Most were too busy being outraged that anyone would refuse them. High above them, invisible against the darkness of space, Earth's colonies continued their slow expansion into the stars. Humanity had refused the galaxy's greatest gift, and they would never regret it. The Great Assembly Hall was the largest building ever constructed by any species in the known galaxy. It could hold 10,000 representatives, and today, every seat was filled. The dome above showed a live view of space, with stars slowly turning as the artificial world rotated. It was meant to remind everyone of the vastness they served. Today, it only made the room feel cold. Ambassador Ryla stood in the center of the floor, surrounded by the curved rows of seats rising up around her. She had given her report 3 times now. And still, the questions kept coming. "You are certain they understood the offer?" asked a representative from the Kreth, a species of tall, 4-armed creatures with gray skin. "Perhaps their translation technology failed." "Their translation was perfect," Rila said. "They understood everything." "Then they are insane," another voice called out. "They are not insane," Rila replied, though she was no longer sure of anything. "They are afraid." Councillor Bren sat in his elevated chair, watching the chaos below. He was over 900 years old and had seen many strange things, but nothing like this. His species, the Toreth, were known for their patience and wisdom. He had plenty of both, but even he was struggling to understand. He raised his hand again, and the room slowly quieted. "Let us approach this logically," he said. We have made contact with over 200 species throughout our history. Some were primitive, some were advanced, some were friendly, some were hostile. But all of them, without exception, eventually joined the council. What makes humans different? A figure stood up in the military section of the hall. War Chief Droga of the Kreth was massive even for his species, with scars across his face and arms that showed his years of combat. He was old now, serving as an advisor rather than a fighter. But his voice was still strong. "I'll tell you what makes them different," he said. "They're stupid. They don't know what's good for them. I say, we show them. Show them how? Send the fleet, not to attack, just to demonstrate what they're refusing. Once they see real power, they'll change their minds." There were murmurs of agreement from several sections of the hall. Rila felt sick. "That would be a mistake," said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. Scholar Miva of the Silthine was small and slight, with silvery skin and large, curious eyes. Her species was known for studying other cultures. She had spent the last 30 years researching humanity from a distance. "You have something to add, scholar?" Bren asked. Miva stood and walked to the center of the floor, joining Rila. She carried a small device that projected images into the air above them. "I have been studying humans since we first detected their radio signals," she said. "I know their history better than anyone in this hall. And I am telling you, threatening them will not work. It will make everything worse." She activated her device. Images appeared in the air: human cities, human wars, human faces. "This species is only about 300,000 years old," Miva explained. "Very young. But in that time, they have had more wars than most species have in 3 million years. They have killed each other in numbers that would make your heart stop. They have used weapons so terrible that their own planet is still scarred by them." "This supports my point," Droga said. "They are violent and dangerous. Better to control them now." "You're not listening," Miva said. And there was heat in her voice now. "Yes, they are violent. Yes, they are dangerous. But look at why." She changed the images. Every time one group of humans gained power over another, they abused it. Every single time. Empires rose and fell. The strong crushed the weak and took everything from them. For thousands of years, this was their only story. She paused to let that sink in. And then, something changed. About 400 years ago, humans began to fight back against their own empires. They developed ideas about freedom and rights, ideas that said no one should have power over anyone else without their agreement. They fought terrible wars over these ideas. Millions died. But slowly, painfully, they built a world where consent mattered more than strength. The images showed humans signing documents, shaking hands, building things together. "When we appeared in their sky," Miva continued, "we thought we were offering them a gift. But they didn't see a gift. They saw another empire, another powerful force coming to take control of their future. And everything in their history told them to say no." The hall was quiet now. Counselor Bren leaned forward in his chair. "What do you suggest, scholar?" "I suggest we try again. But this time, we don't offer membership. We offer something smaller, a gift with no strings attached. Medicine, perhaps, or clean energy technology, something that shows we want to help, not control." "And if they refuse again?" Droga demanded. Miva hesitated. "Then we leave them alone." The hall exploded with noise. Leave them alone? Abandon a species to develop on their own? With no guidance or protection? It was unthinkable. The whole purpose of the council was to bring species together, to share knowledge and prevent conflict. Leaving humanity alone would go against everything they believed. High Arbiter Tun raised his hand for silence. He was the head of the council, chosen for his fairness and calm judgment. His species, the Veldari, were known for their ability to see all sides of a problem. "We will try the scholar's suggestion," he announced. "A gift. No conditions, no requirements. We will show them that the council can be trusted. And if it fails? Bren asked. Tun considered the question carefully. Then we will discuss other options. But not before. We, the decision was made. A probe would be prepared carrying some of the Council's most valuable technology medical devices that could heal almost any injury. Generators that produced endless clean energy. Maps of safe routes through the galaxy. These were things that normally came only with membership. Giving them away for free was almost unheard of. As the representatives filed out of the hall, Scholar Miva stood alone in the center of the floor, looking up at the stars in the dome above. Ambassador Ryla approached her. Do you think it will work? Miva was quiet for a long moment. I think humans will surprise us. They always do. That's not an answer. No, Miva agreed. She thought about everything she had learned about humanity over the years. Their wars, their cruelty, their endless capacity for violence, but also their art, their music, their love for each other. They were a species of contradictions, capable of the worst things and the best things, sometimes at the same time. She thought about what it must be like to grow up on a world where you couldn't trust anyone stronger than you, where every gift had a price and every promise was eventually broken. What would that do to a people? What would they become? She was beginning to understand why they had said no. She just wasn't sure if understanding would be enough. 3 days later, the probe was launched. It carried enough technology to transform human civilization and a message of goodwill from the Council. It also carried the hopes of 47 species that this time, the humans would say yes. But deep in her heart, Scholar Miva already knew they wouldn't. The probe arrived at Earth's outer defense station on a Tuesday morning. It was small, about the size of a car, and it made no threatening moves. It simply stopped and waited, broadcasting a message on all frequencies. A gift from the Galactic Council. No conditions, no requirements. Yours to keep, whatever you decide. President Jisoo received the news while eating breakfast. She was a small woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been Earth's leader for 6 years and had faced many crises, but nothing like this. Bring it in, she ordered. But carefully. Very carefully. The probe was taken to a secure facility in Geneva, where the best scientists on Earth waited to study it. Dr. Hana led the team. She was young for such an important position, only 42, but she was brilliant and everyone knew it. When she opened the probe and saw what was inside, she had to sit down. This is impossible, she whispered. Over the next 3 days, her team studied the gifts. Medical devices that could repair damaged organs in minutes. A generator the size of a suitcase that produced enough energy to power a city. Star maps showing safe paths through regions of space that humans hadn't even known existed. Everything was real. Everything worked. There were no hidden trackers, no secret programs, no traps of any kind. Dr. Hana presented her findings to President Jisoo and the Security Council in a bunker deep beneath the city of Seoul. General Do-won was there, along with Captain Yuna and a dozen other military and political leaders. It's all genuine, Dr. Hana said. These devices could save millions of lives. The energy technology alone would solve our power problems for centuries. And the star maps. She shook her head in wonder. We could cut years off our exploration programs. President Jisoo studied the items on the table in front of her. And you found nothing dangerous? Nothing hidden? Nothing. I've run every test I can think of. These are exactly what they appear to be. Gifts. Gifts. General Do-won repeated. He was a large man with a soldier's build and a soldier's suspicion. From people who want us to join their government, their council. They said no conditions, Dr. Hana pointed out. They said that, yes. The general stood and walked around the table, looking at each device. But let me ask you something. If these things work as well as you say, what happens when they break? Dr. Hana frowned. What do you mean? I mean, can we fix them? Can we build more? Or do we have to go to the council for repairs and replacements? The scientist opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. She looked at the devices with new eyes. I would need to study them more. The technology is very advanced. It might take us decades to understand it fully. Decades, Dowan said. Decades of depending on them. Decades of needing them. He turned to the president. That's how it starts. One gift, then another. Each one makes us a little more dependent, a little less able to survive on our own. Captain Yuna spoke for the first time. There's something else to consider. These gifts are valuable. Incredibly valuable. Why give them away for free? Because they want to help us, Dr. Hana said, but her voice was uncertain now. Or because they want to show us what we're missing. Yuna replied. What we could have, if we just did what they wanted. This isn't generosity. It's a sales pitch. President Jisoo had been quiet, listening to everyone. Now she raised her hand for silence. I hear all of you, she said, and I understand the concerns. But I also see what's in front of me. Technology that could transform our civilization. Medicine that could end suffering for millions of our people. Can we really say no to that? We can, General Dowan said firmly. People will die, Dr. Hana said. Her voice was tight with emotion. People who could have been saved. How do we explain that to them? How do we tell a mother that her child died because we were too proud to accept help? We tell her the truth, Dowan replied. We tell her that we refuse to sell our children's future for a quick fix. We tell her that freedom has a price, and sometimes that price is paid in blood. The room was silent. Everyone looked at the president. Jisoo stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city of Seoul spread out beneath her 30 million people, going about their lives, trusting her to make the right decisions for them. Beyond the city, she knew there were colonies on 6 different worlds, and ships exploring even further. Humanity was growing, spreading, becoming something new. Did she have the right to risk all of that? Did she have the right not to? She made her decision. Dr. Hana, prepare the devices for return. The scientist's face fell. President, I know. Jisoo turned back to face the room. I know what we're giving up. But General Dowan is right. If we take these gifts, we start down a path that ends with us being dependent on the council. Maybe not today. Maybe not in 10 years. But eventually. She shook her head. Our ancestors spent centuries fighting to be free. From kings. From empires. From each other. I will not be the one who gives that freedom away. She looked at Captain Yuna. Record a message for the council. Thank them for their generosity. But tell them we cannot accept. Tell them. She paused, thinking. Tell them. Tell them that we must find our own way. Even if it's harder. Even if it takes longer. It has to be ours. Alden, ours. Yuna nodded and left to carry out the order. Dr. Hana sat down heavily, tears in her eyes. She understood the decision, even agreed with it on some level. But she couldn't stop thinking about all the people who would suffer because of it. President Jisoo saw her pain and felt it herself. But she didn't take back her words. Some decisions had to hurt. That was how you knew they were real. 3 days later, the probe was returned to the edge of human space. The message was transmitted to the council, along with all of their gifts. We will not trade our future for your kindness. This is our final answer. End quote. Far away, in the great assembly hall, Ambassador Ryla received the news. She had hoped so much that this time would be different, that the humans would see the council's good intentions and respond with trust. But they hadn't. They had refused again. Just like before, she sat alone in her quarters that night, trying to understand a species that would rather struggle in darkness than accept a light they didn't control. She couldn't do it. She simply couldn't understand. But Scholar Miva could. When she heard the news, she nodded slowly to herself. She had known this would happen. She had studied humans long enough to know that they would never accept help from someone they didn't trust. The question now was, what would the council do next? Miva was afraid she already knew the answer, and it was the worst possible one. In the military section of the government complex, War Chief Droga smiled when he heard the news. The humans had refused again. That meant his way was next. He began preparing the fleet. The council fleet arrived at the border of human space like a wall of metal and fire. 200 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They spread out in a line that stretched for thousands of kilometers, weapons powered and ready. Admiral Tewu watched them from the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable. He had 43 ships under his command, 43 against 200. The math wasn't good. "Orders, Admiral?" his first officer asked. Tewu didn't hesitate. "Hold position. All weapons ready. But do not fire, unless fired upon. Sir, if they attack, then we fighting." Tewu's voice was calm, almost casual. "But we don't run. Not 1 meter." On the opposite side of the border, War Chief Droga stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking at the tiny human fleet. He felt a mixture of pity and contempt. Didn't they understand how outmatched they were? Didn't they know that one word from him could turn their ships into dust? "Send them a message," he ordered. "Tell them this is their last chance. Join the council or face the consequences." The message was sent. It showed the full strength of the council fleet, along with detailed information about their weapons. The meaning was clear. You cannot win this fight. Admiral Tewu received the message on his screen. He read it carefully, then deleted it. "No response?" Junho asked. He was serving as communications officer on the Indomitable now. No response. Lieutenant Mirai, the young tactical officer, looked at her admiral with worried eyes. "Sir? Permission to speak freely?" "Granted. Why won't we talk to them? Maybe we can find some middle ground. Some compromise that lets us keep our independence without starting a war." Tewu was quiet for a moment. Then he turned to face her. "Lieutenant, what do you know about negotiations?" "Sir, negotiations require that both sides have something the other wants. We have nothing the council wants, except our obedience. And we have nothing to offer for that." He shook his head. "There is no middle ground. Either we're free or we're not." Mirai wanted to argue, but she couldn't find the words. Deep down, she knew he was right. In her quarters on a research station far from the border, Scholar Miva paced back and forth, her mind racing. She had seen Droga's fleet deploy. She knew what was coming. And she knew it was wrong. She had to do something. She sat down at her communication console and began searching for a way to contact the humans directly. It took hours, but she finally found a frequency they were using for encrypted messages. She wasn't supposed to have access to it, but Miva had learned many things in her years of studying other species. She sent a message to Captain Yuna, whose name she recognized from the first contact reports. "Captain, this is Scholar Miva of the Galactic Council. I am acting without authorization. I must speak with you. Please respond." She waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. She began to think the message had been ignored or blocked. Then, finally, a response came. "This is Captain Yuna. I'm listening." Miva felt a wave of relief. "Captain, I know what War Chief Droga is planning. He wants to demonstrate the Council's strength by attacking one of your outer colonies. Not to destroy it, just to show you what we're capable of. He thinks it will make you surrender." There was a long pause. "And you're telling me this, why?" "Because it's wrong. Because I've studied your people for 30 years and I know this will only make things worse." Miva leaned forward, speaking urgently. "I know you don't trust us. I understand why. But I am not your enemy, Captain. I want to find another way. What other way? We've refused your offers twice. What else is there? Different. Miva took a deep breath. Meet with me. In person. Off the record. Just to talk. Maybe we can find something that both sides can accept. Another pause. Longer this time. If this is a trap, Yuna said finally, my people will never stop hunting the council. You understand that? I understand. Good. There's a station in the neutral zone. Grid reference 774. I'll be there in 12 hours. Come alone. The connection ended. Miva sat back, her heart's beating fast. She had just committed treason against the council. If anyone found out, her career would be over. She might even face prison, but she had to try. She had to make them see. 12 hours later, she arrived at the station. It was old and abandoned, built by a species that had died out centuries ago. The lights flickered, and the air smelled stale. Miva walked through empty corridors until she found a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Captain Yuna was already there, standing with her arms crossed. She looked tired. Scholar Miva, she said. Not a greeting. Just an acknowledgement. Captain Yuna. Thank you for coming. They sat down across from each other. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Miva asked the question she had been wanting to ask for 30 years. What do you want? Not your government, not your military. You, personally. What do you want from the galaxy? Yuna considered the question. To be left alone, she said finally. That's all. We don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to live our lives and make our own choices without someone else telling us what to do. The council doesn't want to tell you what to do. We want to help you. No. Yuna's voice was hard. You want to guide us, protect us, teach us. But we didn't ask for any of that. Don't you see? When you decide what's good for someone without asking them, that's not help, that's control. Miva opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. She thought about the council's history. All those species they had brought in over the millennia. Had any of them been asked what they wanted? Or had they simply been told what was good for them? She felt something shift inside her. A crack in the certainty she had always felt about the council's mission. Before she could respond, her communication device buzzed with an emergency alert. Her blood went cold as she read it. What is it? Yuna asked. Miva looked up, her face pale. Droga. He didn't wait for authorization. He's attacked one of your colonies. She checked the details. A place called New Busan. He destroyed their defense platform. Killed over 200 people. Yuna stood so fast her chair fell over. Her face was stone, but her eyes burned. This meeting is over, she said. Captain, please. Your people just killed 200 of mine. There's nothing left to talk about. She walked out without looking back. Miva sat alone in the empty room, the weight of what had happened pressing down on her. Droga had fired the first shot. The war had begun, and she had failed to stop it. Across the galaxy, Admiral Taewoo received the news about New Busan. His jaw tightened, but he didn't speak for a long moment. Orders, sir. Taewoo turned to his crew. Every face was angry. Every face wanted revenge. All ships, he said, his voice steady. Battle formation. We're taking our people home. The human fleet moved forward, crossing the border for the first time. Behind them, Earth began mobilizing for war. 6 months. That was how long the war lasted. 6 months of battles across 3 star systems, of ships burning in the darkness, of colonies attacked and defended. The Council had expected it to last 6 days. General Dowan led the defense of the Kepler colony when Council forces tried to take it. He had 4,000 soldiers against 20,000. The military analysts gave him a week at most. He held for 2 months. His troops fought in the tunnels beneath the colony, in the ruins of bombed buildings, in the forests that humanity had planted when they first arrived. They fought with rifles and knives and bare hands when they had to. They set traps, launched ambushes, and disappeared into the landscape like ghosts. The council soldiers had better weapons and better armor, but they had never seen anything like this. They had never faced an enemy who would not stop, who would not surrender, who would rather die than give up 1 meter of ground. "They're insane," one council officer reported to his commanders. "They have to know they can't win, but they keep fighting anyway." What he didn't understand, what none of them understood, was that humans weren't fighting to win. They were fighting to make the cost too high. Every council soldier who fell was another reason to question the war. Every month that passed without victory was another crack in the council's resolve. Captain Yuna commanded the naval counteroffensive. With a fleet that was always outnumbered, she struck at council supply lines, ambushed patrol groups, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Her tactics were unpredictable. Her attacks, ruthless. "She fights like she's already dead," War Chief Droga complained. "Nothing we do scares her." He was right. Yuna had stopped being afraid the moment New Busan was attacked. Fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. She had a war to win, or rather, a war to make unwinnable. Back on the Council's capital world, High Arbiter Tun watched the reports with growing horror. The war he had tried to prevent was destroying everything he had worked for. 3 species had already withdrawn their ships, refusing to lose any more soldiers in a fight they didn't believe in. Others were questioning whether the Council had the right to force membership on anyone. "This is a disaster," he said to Councillor Bren. "We attacked them to show our strength, and instead, we've shown our weakness." Bren nodded slowly. "The humans were right about us. We did come to conquer them. We just used nicer words." Scholar Miva came to them with a proposal. She had spent the last 6 months studying every battle, every casualty report, every intercepted communication. She understood something now that she hadn't understood before. They will never surrender. She told the High Arbiter, "I want you to understand this completely. If we continue this war, we will eventually defeat them militarily. But it will take years, maybe decades. And even then, they will resist. They will sabotage, rebel, and fight us forever. We will have to occupy their worlds with troops, watch them every moment, crush every act of defiance." "Is that what the Council wants? To become jailers?" Tun looked at her for a long time. "What alternative do you suggest?" "Let them go. Recognize their independence. Full sovereignty. No membership. No obligations. Just leave them alone." The Council has never done that. Then the Council needs to change. It took another month of debate. But in the end, Tun did what he knew was right. He called for a ceasefire and requested one final negotiation. Not to demand surrender, to offer peace. The meeting took place on Earth, in the ruins of New Busan. President Jisoo had insisted on it. She wanted the Council to see what their demonstration of strength had done. High Arbiter Tun walked through the destroyed streets with Miva beside him. Burned buildings stood like broken teeth. Memorials marked the places where people had died. The air still smelled like smoke. "We did this," Tun said quietly. "In the name of unity and protection, we did this." Miva didn't answer. There was nothing to say. They met President Jisoo in what had been the colony's central hall. Half the roof was gone, letting in pale sunlight. General Do-won stood behind the president, along with Captain Yuna and a dozen other officers. Tun bowed his head. "President Jisoo, I come to offer peace." "What kind of peace?" "Full recognition of human sovereignty, no membership required, now or ever. The Council will withdraw all forces from your space and will not return without invitation. In exchange, we ask only that you do not seek revenge for the harm we have caused." Jisoo studied him for a long moment. "That's all? No conditions?" "Only one. We would like to establish trade relationships and cultural exchanges when you are ready. Not now. Not soon. But someday, when you can look at us without seeing enemies. Jisoo turned to General Dowan. The old soldier's face was hard, but he gave a small nod. She turned to Captain Yuna. The captain's expression was unreadable, but she nodded as well. We accept, President Jisoo said. But hear me clearly, High Arbiter. If the Council ever enters our space again without permission, there will be no negotiation, there will be no warning. There will only be war. And this time, we will not stop until we reach your capital. Tan heard the truth in her words and believed her completely. I understand, he said. The documents were signed. The war ended. 50 years passed. Humanity grew. They expanded to new worlds, developed new technologies, built new ships. Some species from the Council came to trade with them, and those relationships were fair and honest. Others stayed away, still afraid of the species that had told the galaxy no. The Council still existed, but it was different now. Miva's report on the war had changed things. Membership was no longer assumed, it was offered, and species could refuse without consequences. The idea that the Council always knew best had been broken, and something more humble had taken its place. Scholar Miva published her life's work, The Unbreakable Species, Why Humanity Said No. It became the most widely read study of human culture in the galaxy. She died 3 years later, at peace with what she had accomplished. On Earth, Captain Yuna lived long enough to see her granddaughter join the fleet. They stood together on a balcony in Seoul, watching patrol ships cross the sky. Grandmother, the young woman asked, why did we fight so hard? We could have joined them. We could have had their technology, their medicine. Life would have been easier. Yuna smiled. She was old now, her hair white and her face lined. But her eyes were still sharp. Let me tell you something about freedom, she said. It's not something you're given. It's something you keep. Every generation has to choose it again, has to fight for it again. The moment you let someone else make your choices for you, even if they mean well, even if they're stronger and smarter, you've lost it. She looked up at the ships, remembering all the battles, all the friends she had lost. We didn't fight because we hated them. We fought because we loved ourselves, our future, our choices, our right to make our own mistakes. She put her arm around her granddaughter. And now it's your turn. Protect that. No matter what. The young woman nodded, understanding. Above them, the ships continued their patrol, guarding the borders of a species that had refused the galaxy's greatest gift and had never once regretted it. Far away, in the great assembly hall, a statue had been erected in the center of the floor. It showed a human hand, open and empty, reaching toward the stars. Beneath it, a plaque read, "They wanted only to be free. We should have let them." It was the Council's way of remembering, of making sure they never made the same mistake again. But humanity didn't need statues to remember. They carried the lesson in their blood, in their bones, in every choice they made. Freedom was not given. It was kept.